Rev up your engines!
I guess even the Chrysler dealers are agreeing with me now. You realize over the past, I tell people, hey, really don't buy Chrysler. They've had a lot of problems with the cars. They're not that great built. Well, now the Fiat Chrysler dealers in the United States are complaining that Fiat Chrysler is sending them too many unordered cars they can't sell. They don't even want them. I mean, I always tell people, hey, save your money, don't buy a Chrysler. Now, even the Chrysler dealers are telling Fiat Chrysler, don't give us these cars, we don't want them. Nobody wants them. Fiat Chrysler Corporation of the United States is saying that the dealers are getting too many cars, are unpopular, that nobody wants to buy. Cars shoved down their throats that they said they can't sell because nobody wants them, but they made these cars. Maybe they should go more to a model of build cars that people actually want by ordering ahead of time. You take the Minis. Now, they're not the greatest cars in the world, but you take orders and there's like 5,000 different types you can buy with all these different add-ons. So you order what you want and then you get it. Instead of building something and saying, we're going to build this, so we don't care if people buy it or not. Guys are getting stuck at the dealership with cars they can't sell, and the dealerships are yelling at the company, stop sending us this crap. So it turns out now that in the 2,400 dealerships in the United States, there are tens of thousands of cars they're getting that they don't want because they said they can't sell them. You think that Scotty doesn't say good things about Chryslers? Hey, the dealers themselves now are saying, whoa, don't give us this. Imagine what's going to happen now that Peugeot has merged with them. Let's hope they don't try selling French cars too. They can send more cars over here from France that nobody wants to buy and pile them up somewhere. Taha, Catatabi624 says, Scotty, I know Infiniti is part of Nissan, but are they more reliable than the Nissans? The Infinitis are the fancy Nissans, just like the Lexuses are the fancy Toyotas and the Acuras are the fancy Hondas. They're still made by the same company, but they're the more expensive luxury cars. Now, sometimes they are stronger built. Most of them go faster, so they got to be a bit stronger built to go faster. They also have a higher level of technology stick in, which when it breaks costs a small fortune to fix. I'll give you an example. In a Camry, I can get a switch assembly for the power windows, and it might cost me $59. But if you get that same master assembly for a Lexus, it might be $359. They charge more money, they're more high-tech parts. It's the same thing with Infiniti. If you wanted a luxury car and you didn't care about money, you could buy a brand new Infiniti. They're pretty decent vehicles. But as they age, they become endless money pits. Now, compare that Lexus Toyota instead of Infiniti Nissan. They last a lot longer than the Infinitis do. They can still become money pits when they're 20 years old and they have 400,000 miles, but you got your money's worth out of them then. The Infinitis, they generally get to be 7, 8 years old, over 100,000 miles. They can be very expensive and have a lot of problems. But the Lexuses go a lot further. Really, if you're going to get a luxury car, I'd say get a Lexus over an Infiniti. If you really like the Infinitis, you're going to buy a brand new one and you're happy with getting 90 or 100,000 miles out of it. You could be happy getting that if you don't mind spending that kind of money and having something that isn't going to last 2, 3, 400,000 miles like a Lexus. Crap Blue Light says, Scotty, what's your opinion on the new airless tires Michelin reveal they're working on? They have always messed around with stuff like that in the tire business. If you remember, a few years back, they had the run flat tires. Never worry about having a spare. You can run flat, la, 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 la. Well, the cars rode like crap. Everybody stopped using them. They had such a horrible ride. Just think, you buy an expensive car and it's got run flat tires and it rides like crap. What's the point of buying the expensive tire? Realize when you're driving on the road, large percentage of your shock absorbing isn't done by the shock absorbers, but the tires themselves, they're rubber and they flex. You got super hard sidewalls, guess what? They ride like crap. Plus, they cost a fortune to repair and to replace when they went out. My neighbor had them on her Mini. What did she do? She ended up, after she had 2 or 3 of them go bad, she said the heck with it. And she just bought 4 regular tires and an air pump in the trunk, so if she ever got a flat, she could pump it up at least and get somewhere with a regular tire and then get it fixed. And those airless tires, I'm sure they're going to ride like crap too, because if they don't have any air in them and they're that stiff, there's no way the things are going to ride that well. And people want a smooth smooth riding car. They don't want to pay a bunch of money for tires and have a harsh running tire. So I don't think those things are ever going to make it to the grade other than military stuff or rich guys that are worried about their kids being kidnapped in Buenos Aires, that they don't care how rough it rides. They don't want their kids kidnapped, so they don't want bulletproof tires in the car. I mean, for the normal people, I don't think that stuff's ever going to pan out. Cash on 7 says, Scotty, I got a 2018 Toyota Corolla. When in cruise control go downhill, the RPM suddenly goes up to 4,000 and down. Is this normal? No, it's not normal. It's 2018. Take it in under warranty. Your cruise control system should not operate that way. It is not operating correctly. Now realize, especially if you have a CVT transmission, the relationship to the engine, the transmission, and cruise control is all run by computers. You either have a flaw in one of those systems themselves, or it's a software glitch. Take it to Toyota, explain what's happening, and my advice is this: drive it downhill. Film it. Passenger, film it with a phone. Film it. Show what's happening and say, here's what's happening. This is no BS. Fix it. Don't let them say we can't replicate the problem. Just say, here's the problem. Leave them the car, say, fix it under warranty. It should not do that. YB Normal 7 says, Scotty, what do you think of a 93 Lexus SC400 as a fun weekend car? I'm looking for a car to maintain. All right, that is a 27-year-old V8 Lexus. They generally become money pits at that age. Now, let's say it was immaculately taken care of and it's got less than 100,000 miles or something. It could be a fun weekend car. Leave it a weekend car. Drive it maybe 2,000-3,000 miles a year max. Don't put a bunch of money into it and don't pay much for it. It could be a little bit of fun then. But if it's a real high mileage run, like 200,000 miles or something, I'd stay away from it unless it ran okay and you could buy it for like $1,000 or something. It would be a toy. Don't put much money into one of those because it's 27 years old. And the V8s are real heavy maintenance as they age and get a lot of mileage on it. Nicolana says, I bought a BMW 220D convertible last January. Tons of creaks and rattles after I drove it about 10,000 miles. I noticed when I brake the tachometer, it'll go from 40 to 0. It stutters. I don't feel anything specific. It just doesn't do it on acceleration, only deceleration. 1, you should never bought a BMW diesel. Those are the highest tech cars on the planet. They're just insane. I worked on one the other day and I asked the guy, I said, why did you buy? Oh, he said, I heard about how diesels last forever. He said, not BMW diesels. Do not buy one of those. They're so high tech. They cost so much money to fix. He said, I realized that. And then he sold the car after I looked at it, showed him. I hooked up my fancy computer because I got tools to work on them. And it had like 47 different trouble codes and I showed them all. Some of them were in the really complex electronics for the diesel system, and I said, just forget it. You're going to spend a fortune on the vehicle. He had taken it to the dealer, and they wanted like $6,500 to do some stuff, and he didn't want to pay it. And I said, yeah, get rid of the car. So he did. You got it, but with doing those problems, from my experience, it's often in the transmission that'll do. If it only does it on deceleration, a thing in a transmission that makes it feel weird. Generally, if it's in the engine or fuel injection system, it'll trip some kind of code. And if you're not getting any kind of codes, it's often inside the transmission. But I mean, hey, I hope you didn't pay much for it. You can get rid of it, not lose too much money. Because those things are not a vehicle to buy used. You should never buy one of those things. Jojo5 says, if I overfill my battery with water, is an explosion possible? Actually, that does the opposite. It makes it less possibility of an explosion. The explosion that you get is from hydrogen gas coming out. And if your battery gets low, there's a lot more gas inside there, and there's more ways to get an explosion. You put all the way to the top with water, there's no room for any gas. So if you overfill it, the only real problem is that it can make a mess. Because as your battery recharges, then it could bubble some, and then the acid will get all over your car and eat up metal. That's the main thing. It's just like if you overfill your radiator. The only thing that'll happen is then the extra stuff, when it gets hot, will bubble out and make a mess in the car, but then it'll go back to the normal level and it'll just stay that way. So it's not dangerous, but you don't want to get battery acid all when you're taking a corner. Sometimes the battery acid, if it was all at the top, would slosh and make a mess and eat up stuff. You don't want that. JMO22 says, my wife has a 2011 Dodge Grand Caravan. Started acting up, and the engine hasn't got enough voltage. We changed the alternator and battery, and it ran for 5 minutes. We tested the alternators, putting out the voltage. We took it to the shop. They said it could be the ECU, which would cost $1,500. Could it be something else? Well, it's electronic. It could be tons of things. But unfortunately, you got a 2011 Dodge Caravan. And Dodge Caravans are one of the worst vans ever made. And thank heavens they're not making them anymore. They finally decided to pull the plug on those things. On Unfortunately, with your design, the alternator charging system is ultimately run by, guess what? The ECU, the electronic control unit, the main computer. So it's very common that that's why those aren't charging. But it's a 2011, and he's saying it's charging him $1,500. My advice, look around. If you can even find a place like Napa that can sell you the computer already pre-programmed, because I know a lot of the Napas, they can have it programmed for your car, so you can just have it programmed for your car, put it in, start it up, and drive away. If you can do that, try it yourself. It'll be a lot less than $1,500. Since the computer controls the charging, it could very well be that, but call up Napa, see what they can get one for, and they can program it for you. Just plug and play. Do it yourself then. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.